Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be continuing our series focusing on specific elements, and today we're going to be talking about Earth. We're going to talk about all the units that make up the Earth compositions, and we're going to talk about where Earth is going to be going in the future. Let's go ahead and dig in. So, for the Earth element unit must-haves, in no particular order, the first unit I want to talk about is Moraga. Now, of course, Moraga is the select quest unit for Earth, which means he is freely acquirable if you do have kind of Earth MR units leveled and you kind of decide to try and take on those select quests. I actually think Moraga is the best select quest unit in the game for a variety of reasons. One, his TMR gives initial AP up 25 for any unit that chooses to equip it. So it makes a really good potential equipment for any axe wielder in the game. He has access to Sub Ninja, which is going to give him very good mobility. It also gives him a 3-hit attack, and this is on top of him already being a very powerful tanky unit. Of course, being an axe wielder main job and kind of being really powerful and having high attack stats, he's going to hit cap damage already. So giving him a multi-hit attack just makes him a monster in PvE content. And more recently, with the helmet that released for him, he can actually reasonably tank well as well. So he's overall just an incredible unit. I think every Earth composition should have him, and I think the combination of Moraga and GL Zazan and Noctis are really what make up the competitive PvE compositions for Earth Slash right now. Oberon is a very powerful, very interesting unit. So Oberon is a 100 cost Earth element unit. He has access to a 2-hit spear attack. What's unique about him is he has access to all elemental resistance minus 20 in his limit break. And there are very few units in the game that actually have access to all elemental resistance down. And this makes Oberon very powerful, whether or not you're going to be running him in some type of an Earth PvE composition, whether or not you're going to be running him in a PvP composition because he has these brawler characteristics that make him very powerful. He's going to be unique in that regard. You're going to be able to stack him potentially in even other compositions that you might not think of. For example, if you maybe have a slash composition and you want Oberon to use triple trick with the Exorcist VC, you can do that and you can turn off all of his pierce abilities, have him use triple trick, but also leave his limit break on to add that debuff to the opponent that otherwise wouldn't normally be there. And that debuff, that all elemental resistance down, isn't just for Earth units. It's going to benefit all units overall. So I think in that regard, Oberon is a very good character for Earth. But more broadly, if you're someone wanting to build a rainbow composition, if maybe you have Cloud and a couple other powerful slash units, he's going to be really good in just a generic slash composition. He also has access to Earth Elemental Resistance minus 30 in his kit, and if you are taking him into a PvE situation in an Earth comp, this does stack. This is considered a separate debuff to all elemental resistance down, so he's going to have kind of two debuffs that are very powerful for your team. GL Zazan is a very important unit in the Earth composition, and I would argue what's actually put Earth more on the map has actually been GL Zazan for GL. And there's a couple of reasons for that, of course. GL Zazan is limited. He does come around quite frequently, though. He has access to a 3x hit. He has access to Guts and also Auto Revive. He has high evasion, so he's going to be able to solo content. He has pretty much everything you would want in both a PvE and a PvP unit. And introducing GL Zazan all of a sudden made compositions with Ketone and other evasion units much more viable, right? You could run like Ketone, Mont, GL Zazan. You could run like Oberon, GL Zazan, and Ketone, or maybe Noctis. And all of a sudden you have an Earth composition that's very viable. So for those reasons, I think GL Zazan universally doesn't need a lot said about him. He's extremely powerful, and he's one of the, if not the strongest Earth unit in the game. One thing about GL Zazan I think a lot of people don't think about is his TMR. And I only put TMRs on here that I think are interesting or useful. And I think GL Zazan's TMR is one of the only pieces of equipment in the game that will buff earth resistance penetration. And I think that's one of those things that a lot of people don't look at, not only for just GL Zazan, but for other units, right? Like if you have another earth unit and you want them to deal more damage, this TMR could be very viable. So it's one thing people don't think about. It's one thing I kind of keep in the back of my mind. I've never been in a situation where I have to use this TMR, because a lot of times GL Zazan has other buffs he wants to use, or my other earth units want to use other buffs. But there may be a situation, maybe in the future, where we run into an enemy who has all elemental resistance 100, where this could be a key TMR in order for clearing content. Ketone has been around forever, and I would say Ketone is part of the OG Earth team, right? Ketone has been an evasion unit for a very long time, and even nowadays, Ketone is a terrifying unit in both PvP and PvE. And you have different builds with her, and they all are terrifying, to be candid. In PvP, you have access to like Drain Force Ketone, which is terrifying. You have access to LB Ketone and Evasion Ketone, which Ketone having the ability to stop at 67% is so high on her limit break. That alone is terrifying, and was terrifying for a very long time. Even with Ribbon on, that stop is still going to hit you. So absolutely, Ketone is a monster in both PvP and PvE, and part of her PvE strength comes from the capability, of course, to have 3x hit from her ninja main job. She does have access to sub soldier as well, so she's going to get that crazy attack bonus. And on her primary attack, debilitator, her job level 25 attack debilitator is going to lower single hit resistance by 30. Important note here, it's also an elemental-less attack as well, or a type-less attack, sorry. So one of the things you're going to notice as we are going through Earth Element is it seems like Earth has a variety of attacks in their kits, and it's to the point of almost insanity. There are units that have almost every single type of attack in their kit, like potentially Mont. We can go here onto the other page and you can see frickin' Eileen has Pierce, Slash, Strike, and Missile. It's absolutely crazy. So lots of things to think about here. And I just think this is, as we are making this video and kind of going through the Earth units, this is one of the unique things that I really noticed as I was going through. Mont is one of those units that everybody should have leveled. A lot of people don't realize Mont's Stone Throw is a 100% hit. It also classified as a missile-based attack. He has access to Knockback, which is a striking attack in his main job, sub job, and he has access to Earth Slash Tech, so he has a variety of techs. He has access to Guts. He has access to Drain HP from one of his primary abilities. His TMR also, I think, it's been a long time since a lot of content creators have talked about this, but Mont's TMR has been used for a long time as an ability to keep your units in the backline, and nowadays we kind of have other buffs and other abilities to keep units backline. But back in the day, this used to be a TMR that was manipulated and used to kind of keep specific units back, to buff your party so that you didn't have units running forward into the melee. So I think we oftentimes forget about Mont's TMR as being really important. So just keep that in mind. Everybody has this, everybody has Mont leveled. He's absolutely a viable character. And I think a lot of times, even new players forget how powerful Mont is. And, we've tested, and I've tested, and I've done this on stream. There are a lot of times where Mont can solo a lot of the content that, you might not realize he can solo. And, especially when you're wanting to farm multis as a new player, this is absolutely viable. So keep that in mind. You don't have to have the Black Rose Helena. You don't have to have a lot of these other units. You may be able to solo multi content with just a 120 Mont. Noctis is kind of the other bread and butter right now, along with GL Zazan for Earth compositions. And Noctis is just universally an incredible character. And His TMR gives 5% AP regeneration along with Protect on the unit that wears it. Very powerful. I would categorize this as the third best TMR in the game right now. I would say it goes Belle's into Lucio's TMR into Noctis's TMR. And Noctis has a lot of things to help for both PvE and PvP. In a PvE capacity, his limit break has the ability to lower slash, pierce, and strike by 25. He has access to a 3-hit attack. He has access to defense -30, counter -100. And on the PvP front, he also has access to a 100% hit ability. And along with all this, he has access to a ton of different attack types. He can have pierce attack, slash attack, strike attack. He can have slash type type neutral attacks. He is a unit that kind of covers the entire spectrum. And I think in the PvE capacity, if you have him, if you have GL Zazan, you can probably put together some really powerful PvE shenanigans, or like that you maybe would not have been able to previously. And I think just again, as you watch these other videos, having access to the slash reduction, having access to the defense -30 and the multi-hits, this is what makes Earth one of the most powerful elements in PvE. Kilfei. Now, I notoriously said back in the day that Kilfei was not going to be a very powerful unit. I thought she was going to be useless. And time again, as the years have gone on, I continue to eat my words. And I think Kilfei is one of those units that's one of the best must-have units for Earth because she has access to multiple 100% hit attacks, one of them being Holy, the other one being Energy Buster. She has access with her limit break to magic resistance -38, which there are many situations in PvE over the course of the last few years where I have put Kilfei in a composition, in a magic composition, in a light element composition, where she's going to spam Holy and magic resistance down. And when you think about, you know, these magic compositions and these like chaining light element, you don't usually think about Kilfei. You don't usually think about, you know, oh, I'm going to chain light by having Kilfei use Holy. But she is one of the most viable units in terms of lowering magic resistance. She does have access to sub white mage, although she doesn't have access to full life. And I would say a lot of the times you want to manually control her sub white mage. She's pretty tanky in general, but I think we're past the days where Kilfei could actually tank other units. I think units are so powerful nowadays that Kilfei would just find herself getting wiped out. So I think from a PvP perspective, Kilfei is pretty much checked out, but she's absolutely still viable in PvE, both for Earth compositions. You could use her in an Earth Slash, for example, or for just a generic magic composition utilizing light element chaining like Holy or other types of abilities. Important note, because I know somebody's going to mishear me here, you cannot chain magic. I know that. I'm saying you can chain Holy. So in case I misspoke and I said you could chain magic, I am aware you cannot chain magic. But it's just sometimes I jumble my words and it gets a little confusing. So before we look at the non-limiteds, I do actually want to spend some time taking a look at the limited units. And part of the reason for this is I do think some of these units can add to your generic composition. So for example, if you had like Moraga and Noctis and Ketone, I mean, you could absolutely make an Earth Slash PvE chain work with like Ziza, you know, Halloween Ryu, Pumpkin Spice Frederica. Just because you don't have every single unit in this list doesn't mean you can't make an Earth Slash PvE composition work. I think a lot of the units in the limited time, actually, I'm going to make a bold claim here. Every single unit except for Mustadio. Actually, Mustadio could work too. You know, Earth Slash is one of those universal compositions that you can just kind of put together because almost every single Earth unit has, you know, multiple hits, has the ability to lower stats on the opponent. You know, as long as you're running Moraga or GL Zazan or Noctis, like one of those to like cap your damage reliably, it's going to be one of those things where, you know, you could probably make it work. In terms of Earth Limited, we're going to go ahead and talk about Summer Lilith here. Summer Lilith is an interesting creature. I think Summer Lilith oftentimes gets kind of put to the side or kind of discounted because of the time of her release and the way that she kind of has not really been a meta defining unit. She has reflex, she has a 4 times hit attack, she has a 100% hit attack, she has immortal spirit, she has missile resistance minus 38, she has access to sub paladin for slashing. She's a little bit of a monster, and she doesn't really get the credit that she deserves. There have been specifically in the latest tower mission where you had Igaion in the last EX tower. Lilith is the unit that actually carried me through that. Being able to immobilize your opponents recently in PvE content has been really important. There's been a lot of times where Glacial and Fryzess spawn, and you need to immobilize them as part of the strategy. And Lilith is just really good at that. So I think Lilith gets a little bit of a bad rep, but I think she's absolutely one of the better Earth units. Ziza, oh my god, Venera, sorry, Winter Venera. I always call her Winter Ziza because she's a striking unit, but Winter Venera is limited. She has the ability to lower defense by 20, which isn't a ton. She has access to a 3-hit slash chaining attack with Sub Ninja, and she has access for Earth resistance minus 38. She's all around a really good Earth chaining unit, and I think she often is kind of overlooked and not really thought about. And I think part of that is just because we have access to so many other Earth units that are so much more dominant, right? Like if you had all of these Earth units, right? And you could throw Moraga, Oberon, GL Zazan, Ketone, and Noctis, all of a sudden, why would you level Winter Venera, right? So I think, if you have Winter Venera out there, don't be discouraged if you don't see her used in compositions very much. She's absolutely a very good unit, and she is very good in a PvE situation. Halloween Raryu is one of those units that I would say fits into an Earth / composition. But the biggest thing with Halloween Raryu is of course going to be his TMR that gives auto re-raise. It's a limited time unit. He has really good spirit penetration. He has immortal spirit. Technically, he has an Earth resistance minus 38 ability, but good luck getting him to use it because it's in his Rune Knight passive, and it's an ability that doesn't deal any damage. So he's, the AI is not going to use that ability. Overall, I think Halloween Raryu is great in a PvE situation, and I think a lot of people probably have Halloween Raryu just for the TMR. So I do think Halloween Raryu can slide into that Earth / chaining composition if you need another Earth unit, but I think his time in PvP is long past. He does also have some really good range with Drain Evocation, which is not to be underestimated. So overall, I would say he is an okay unit. Pumpkin Spice Frederica, really good PvE, really good solo power. In the last tower, Pumpkin Spice Frederica soloed a lot of stuff. So don't underestimate Pumpkin Spice Frederica's capability to solo. She is going to be the highest evasion unit in Earth compositions. She does have some PvP capability, particularly in class matches. We see her more specifically in reduced cost class matches. We also tend to see her in PvE used for her 2 times hit and her defense minus 30. She has really great movement. She's overall just a great / chaining unit. You could put her into the Earth element must-haves, but what really holds her back, and again, there's just so many great Earth element units that are either going to cap damage or deal 3-hit attacks, right? Like just on this page alone, you have Moraga as a 3-hit attack, Oberon's a 3-hit attack. If he has Exorcist sub, GL Zazan's a 3-hit, right? Noctis is a 3-hit, Ketone is a 3-hit and lowers single hit resistance, which is even crazier. So nothing wrong with Pumpkin Spice Frederica. It's just that there's other better units for PvE content. And she is kind of in her own little, she has her PvP niche, she has her solo capability niche, and that's kind of all that she does. Mustadio, limited time unit. Very few people probably actually have him nowadays, but he's absolutely one of the best status ailment gunners. I used him recently in my MR Earth Select clear. Being able to immobilize units was really important, and having access to him actually helped me clear the mission. He of course has access to reflex, steal time. He has a 3x hit. Whenever his EX comes out, he will absolutely be relevant. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see like Summer Lilith, Mustadio, and maybe some other Earth unit, just as like missile Earth shenanigans right now. Finally, to go over the remaining Earth element units that are not limited. This is an interesting list. I think I have some personal bias here because I do like some of these units over other units. And that's not to say that these units, some of these units aren't good or aren't bad. It's just my personal experience with them. On paper, they might look really good, but in my experience, I've had nothing but trouble with some of them. So let's start off with Luel. Luel is one of those units, has high spirit pen, has high accuracy. Luel is one of those units that a lot of people kind of knock on. They don't really utilize her. And I've actually had good success with her. She doesn't bring anything. She literally does not bring anything in a PvE capacity to the party. She can, you know, maybe do a little bit of buffing. She can do a little bit of damage, but she, for whatever reason, has always been really good every time I've utilized her in PvE, whether it's surviving and being able to heal with geo absorption. I don't know. I just know that while she doesn't have an objective use, I know that she's been really good when I've utilized her. And there's very few units in the game I can describe like this. And I think Luel is one of those units that just kind of has worked for me. I think Water El Sorel is maybe another one, and maybe it has to do with the Scholar main job, but it just works, and she just fits into any composition that I need to put Earth in. So I would rate Luel pretty high. Murmur is one of the units, especially with her EX coming out, that actually has been used in a variety of PvE content. And she's very similar, I think. I think she's really Earth Elements Phoebe in many ways. She's just capable and is able to both chain, lower stats on the opponent. She can mana strike if you're trying to clear content, and lower AP of the enemy. So the fact that she has, you know, a 2-hit fierce attack that lowers defense 30 and spirit 38, the fact that she can lower earth resistance by 38 as well, her mana strike capability, she tends to deal really high damage with jamming thrust. Like, her damage is on par with an MR. She's really crazy. She has higher tanking capability because she's one of the 3 sisters. She's overall a really powerful SR unit. And I think out of all of the MRs, out of all the SRs for Earth Element, I think she's the best. I think she's arguably better than Mont, and I think everybody should have her leveled. Durando is another one of those units that I've leveled that I have had great success with, and it's out of nowhere. You know, Durando was the reason I was able to clear Earth Select Quest initially. He has the capability to lower defense by 25. He has a 2x hit. He has access to leg shot, which has been really important in Earth Select Quest recently. He can drain HP. He's kind of a brawler character. You can pair him with like Moraga's axe for high initial AP if you need to maybe kill an enemy right out the door. I've had great success with Durando, and a lot of people knock him, and I actually think he's on the upper echelon. I think if we were to give a tier list of almost MR units, MR and below units, I think it would probably go Murmur, Mont, and Durando. I think those have been the 3 Earth units that I've really benefited the most from leveling. Livial, and this is kind of the opposite of Durando and Luel. Livial is one of the units I have never been able to get to work. She has access. If you can poison the enemy with her EX, she has one of the highest breaks in the game, which is crazy to consider, that she can lower all element attacks by 40 if you do land poison on the opponent. That's ridiculous. She has hate minus, she has access to Calamity Guard, she has access to Subcalculator. Like, everything in her kit looks amazing, and everything about her is like, oh, she's gonna work, she's gonna be incredible. Every time I've used her, she dies. And I don't know if it's just because she has really low HP, she has really low survivability, I'm not sure what it is about her. She's just never worked for me. And I know there are other people who have had similar experiences and other people who kind of tote her as like Earth's healer. I would rather just take Murmur than her. And yeah, I do have her leveled to 120. I had to use her for Earth Select to disable the dragons. That's pretty much the only way to beat Earth Select Quest 10. But I've just never wanted to use her, and she's never been effective for me. Lorenzo as well has a huge fan club, and I'm on the side that I'm starting to like Lorenzo more now that he's gotten his EX, but his base stats, his speed, his sub jobs just don't really work for me. He has sub time mage, but no access to quicken. The thing that really redeems him now, though, is he has access to Mana Strike, and his new 120 ability dispels Re-Raise, it dispels Immortal Spirit, it dispels Protect and Shell, and it's kind of like a Dragon Dive-esque attack. I think that redeems him. I don't know if it makes him higher on my list, but he's definitely not as terrible as he once was to me. Balo is just neutral. He's one of those units that he has access to Trinity Break, he has AP Break, TP Break, Immortal Spirit. If you're going to be using Balo, you're using him for AP and TP Break or Trinity Break, and that's the reason you're utilizing him. He gets the job done, and that's what I have to say about Balo. Etri, very similar to Livial, has never been good for me. I know a lot of people really excited with Etri because Etri is free. Actually, hold on, let me move this over here because usually I have a little icon that tells if they're free. So let's go ahead and move this right here and we'll make Etri free. But do not, I would say don't waste resources on her. She's not a unit that particularly has done me any good. She does have access to TP Break. She has access to Erase, and she also has access to Purify. So she's very good at healing status ailments. Her job level 25 ability does give some pretty powerful status ailments on the opponent. I believe it's Berserk and Confusion. But I've just never found a time where I can utilize her effectively. She does have 2x hit, but even then, just, you know, give me Durando. Durando can do a lot more damage. You know, even Lorenzo now with his break is going to be more powerful. Murmur, right, has access to jamming thrust. Like, there's a lot better options, I feel like, than actually utilizing Etri. Eileen, everybody knows as Oron J's waifu. Notoriously useless, I would say she is. She does have, though, some PvE capabilities. She has access to Sub Soldier, she has access to Mana Strike, and her Limit Break lowers Earth Resistance 38. So if you are struggling to lower Earth Resistance, so again, units that can lower, like maybe you don't have Oberon, maybe you don't have, let's see, who else can lower Earth Resistance? Maybe you don't have Murmur, which Lord have mercy if you don't have Murmur. I'm gonna make a hot take here right now. If you're running an Earth chaining composition, Murmur is going to be better than Eileen. I'm just saying, Murmur 100%. Not only does Murmur lower Earth 38 resistance and defense and spirit, but she literally has Mana Strike like Eileen does. Eileen only got Sub Soldier, but let's be honest, Murmur's gonna deal that damage. Murmur's gonna lower that Spirit 38 and start hitting damage cap. So hot take, Murmur is better than Eileen. I'm interested to see what you guys think down in the comments down below. Anyway, the elemental guide videos, they continue to evolve and change as you guys are requesting them. I do believe we're gonna be doing wind next. So I did see your guys' comments and I did see that you guys wanted wind, so we'll be doing wind next. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoy this long form content down below in the comments down below. As always, if you do want to support me, use my affiliate link dig.gs/coins and dig.gs/offer, and have a great rest of your day.